Welcome in, everybody, to Leading Off right here on Fantasy Pros. It's me, Joey P, Joe Pisapia. That's Dan Harris, and it's you. And we're talking all things baseball today. I know it's a big football day out there. I get it. It's draft day. So happy draft day, everyone, for those who care. And tonight, if you are one of those crossover people, we will be doing live coverage here on Fantasy Pros on the other YouTube channel that we have, not the MLB, the regular one where the other kids hang out. So make sure you check us out tonight talking NFL draft. We'll be breaking down all the picks live as they happen, but we're live here right now talking baseball. And my goodness, what a wacky night. We had some injuries, too, to some of our guys that we talked about in DFS that cropped up kind of out of nowhere, seemingly. Both of our home run calls got canceled. It was just a weird, funky evening. It was funky. It was weird. These things happen. There's 162 of these things. So sometimes it's going to be weird.
Yeah. I mean, there was some normalcy. Jacob deGrom pitched great and got the loss. And, there was that at least. But, yeah, kind of a weird night. But, the studs, Tyler Glasnow at least came through. He was awesome, and there's some stuff to talk about, so let's get into it.
There certainly is, and I saw a great tweet actually from David Lennon, who's a New York writer, who tweeted, I don't know if you saw this one, he said, I wonder what would happen if the Mets had to face DeGrom. What that game would look like. Yeah.
An unearned run. That's one unearned run, that's all.
I'm gonna let you marinate. In case you couldn't tell, Dan's a little frustrated with another 1-0 Jacob deGrom loss.
Terrible. I know, by the way, against the Red Sox, because I live in New England, so everybody's like, ha 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 ha. Yeah, it's just the worst.
Yeah, against the Red Sox with no DH. You just, just want to point that out.
Terrible.
All right, let's do a little 3 up and 3 down. We've got Tyler Glasnow with the 10Ks, as Dan mentioned. Very good day for him. Byron Buxton, 5 for 5. That's a big ups for Mr. Byron Buxton. Doubles, home runs, all kinds of things going on for Byron. He is just, he is in fuego, man. I got this pace is unsustainable. It's getting to the point now where I think you start kicking the tires and you say, okay, what can I get for Byron Buxton? As good as this has been and as great as it is, this is the high mark. I'm telling you right now. I can't imagine this pace being 5 months. If so, in keeper leagues, you're not moving, you're holding still, but in redraft, I think you're starting to kick the tires a little bit just to see, does Byron Buxton plus something else get me Juan Soto or get me some guy like Mike Trout or something? Like, I don't know, but let's see. And then 4 hits for Freddie Freeman as Kyle Hendricks. Not a good outing for him, which is part of the downs here. Kyle Hendricks, 7 earned runs in the 3 downs. Bryce Harper getting hit in the face. That's a down. That was scary moment there for Bryce Harper. And then the kid hit another kid, and you could tell, like, when he hit Didi too, that the kid on the mound just did not, he wasn't trying to hit anybody. Sure. So I don't know why everyone's getting all up in arms. He felt immediately he threw his hands up as soon as the ball got away from him, and then it got in his head. And then Jacob deGrom, of course, 3 down, of course, the 3rd down, the worst down, the brown down, losing 1-0. So Dan, ups and downs, anything you want to take away from here?
Let's see. I thank deGrom for basically single-handedly killing the win protocol where anybody cares about a win or not. That's nice. I'm not that worried about Kyle Hendricks. Let's go there, okay? Because Hendricks has been terrible. Okay, he gave up 7 runs, as you mentioned. I think it was 3 2/3. Home runs galore. He gave up 2 home runs in the first inning. Like, you just knew it was not going to be good for him. I don't know about you, Joe. I'm not particularly worried. Obviously, his bugaboo, he still had been kind of limiting the hard contact. Every ball they hit yesterday was rocketed. Like, it was just every one you were like, oh my God, get out of the way. It was a terrible outing. The Braves were just kind of locked in yesterday. Hendricks is struggling. I'm not selling low. Guys who rely primarily on command like Hendricks does, they're going to occasionally go through stretches like this. Hendricks has been through stretches like this in his career. The weather still is not warm. I think he'll figure it out if you drafted him, which I did in a bunch of places because he's just kind of like that comfortable sweater that you just kind of put on and you're like, okay, it's not my favorite one, but it'll get the job done. I think in the end of the year, his numbers are going to be where you need them to be. So really, there's nothing in his profile that makes me worried about it yet. That's the biggest takeaway for me from last night.
Well, looking into the Peanuts and the Cracker Jacks this morning, I know Ivan's having a conniption about Kyle Hendricks, and you can't draft him as a 1, Ivan. That was the problem.
True.
There was a false sense of security that somehow you could wait on starting pitching enough, and we tried to drive this home. You can't, especially this year with so much uncertainty with innings, that it was very wise to make an early investment in the 1st or 2nd round in that Yu Darvish, in that Garrett Cole, in somebody in that ilk. And if you don't, Kyle Hendricks is not a guy who's going to lead your rotation. So now that you're stuck in it, like Dan's saying, He's absolutely right. This is going to come back around, so just sit and wait on it. And in the meantime, if you have to bench him, you do whatever you got to do. By the way, also, I just want to say Tony is my new favorite person in this because he says, "Good morning, Dinger Dan and Handsome Joe."
Yeah.
Handsome Joe. Now we finally got the right nickname.
First time
last time. That's right. All right, let's press on here with the show here. We got a lot of baseball to get to, and Tyler Glasnow, obviously the 7 shutout innings, the 10 Ks. We talked about it yesterday on the show being a really good cash game investment on Glasnow, just keeping it simple that it didn't look like, the A's can only win so many games, right? Eventually it's got to come back to earth. And momentum is only as good as the next day starting pitcher. And when it's Tyler Glasnow, you had to go, okay. Clayton Kershaw, very good as well, though. I watched a bit of this game yesterday afternoon against Sonny Gray. 8 Ks against the Reds. I know the Reds won the game before. This is a good measuring stick for the Reds, though. I think if they come out of this series competitive with the Dodgers, if they took 2 or 3, I feel like the Dodgers at least, they're always that measuring stick for every team, which always makes it tough when you're at the top of the board. But I feel like for the Reds, this was good for them to kind of get a check, because if the Reds look seriously at themselves, if Gray can get right, if Castillo can get right, the way Tyler Mahle's pitched, if they can get anything out of that bullpen better, this is a team that could really make some noise in the latter part of the season. Domingo Germán, back-to-back good starts. Yes, against the Orioles, but still 7 shutout innings, 6 Ks. Are you feeling more comfortable with Germán?
Yeah, I liked Germán a lot. I had a lot of shares coming into the year because, again, it seemed obvious he was going to win the job. I was a little nervous. He didn't pitch that great, and I feel like a guy like him with all the off-the-field stuff probably has a shorter leash than a normal pitcher with his stuff would. But the fact that David Garcia wasn't that great, Germán, they need pitching. You know that, Joe. If you can throw, they're going to be fine. So Germán, I really have very few concerns about right now. And I had to drop him in a league just because I was in such a roster crunch. I couldn't afford to take him. I didn't know how long he'd be at the alternate site. If you held on to him, if he's somehow still available, pick him up. I do think he's a guy you can ride rest of the year.
Alex Wood, who we mentioned yesterday, too, is a nice secondary pitcher on DK. This is the second game in a row, and it's against the Rockies, and I keep telling everybody the swing and miss rate for the Rockies is off the charts. And the thing that's really hurting them is that lack of Nolan Arenado in the middle of the lineup. I'm just saying it out there. Charlie Blackmon hasn't hit. If Blackmon's not hitting, Trevor Story's basically on an island. I know Ryan McMahon had that massive game. Hanson had some good moments. But you take Arenado out of that lineup, and this is what we talk about, lineup protection, and the difference of when you have it, when you don't, and they don't right now. No Blackmon, no Arenado right now. Things are not going well. But Alex Wood looking good so far. A really good start to him. It's always about health with Alex Wood at the end of the day. Huascar Ynoa, 5 1/3 shutout innings, 9 Ks against those Cubs. And he went yard, which was kind of cool as Dan tries to not die here live on the podcast. This is why you're watching live here on the YouTube channel, because obviously he didn't stir in the Trader Joe's cold brew enough.
I'm fine,
I told him,
correct. I
got to stir all the way.
6 hours too long. 6 hours too long to get the good stuff. Sorry.
Yeah, all right. Let's talk about who is in fuego right now. Who is on absolute fire? Byron Buxton, 5 for 5, homer, a steal. He's batting .438 right now, and I think as much as you and I were very into Buxton, all the mocks you could see we were kind of fighting over him at the value, and I think this is also a good lesson for everybody to remember that sometimes it just takes guys just longer. You just got to wait it out and be patient, and that's okay. Here's my question to you, and I kind of brought it up at the beginning of the show. Is this the time to start shopping? Because it's never going to get better than this. I don't think this pace is sustainable. He's not going to hit 400. So do you think there's a value to be had in terms of a trade somewhere where you could get some big player back in a package with Buxton?
So I make this point a lot, but my overall strategy when it comes to trading is that you should sell high on everyone, because that's the name of the game. I'm not selling Byron Buxton because everything he's doing looks very, very legitimate. He's not going to bat .438, but he is hitting the crap out of the ball. He stole a base as well yesterday. He's batting leadoff. Nothing about his performance right now looks like it's fluky, and that's especially coming from a guy who is a top prospect. With that said, the biggest thing with Buxton, not only is he obviously playing a little over his head, just because he's playing a little over Babe Ruth's head, but it's the injury risk. That is always present with Buxton. So I would be kicking the tires, because there probably is somebody in your league who is just we've been following Buxton for years. We know he's been ready to break out if he could ever just put it all together. He is putting it all together. So I would look to sell high, and I would take the chance on basically being like, well, maybe this is an actual crazy breakout and he's going to be a top 5 player, I'd be willing to miss on that. You mentioned it very well in the beginning, which is if you can pair Byron Buxton with another okay player or something like that to get one of the elite players like a Mike Trout or a Juan Soto, I would do that, yes.
Here's a question for you. What's the trade chart say of Byron Buxton, the almighty Dan Harris trade chart? Because that's kind of where, while he's looking for that, I'll go through some of the other guys here. Austin Riley, 4 for 5 with a homer. We talked yesterday about the bottom. Actually, all week it's been the theme, is the bottom of the Braves order, which has been very cheap on FanDuel, right? We talked about Swanson. He went off a couple days. We talked about Austin Riley. He went off. We're going to go back to that well again tonight. Spoiler alert. Colton Wong homered again. He's got 11 hits, 2 home runs, and a steal in his 5 games since returning. We already talked about Hendricks being an issue. Steven Matz coming back down to earth. If you're a Met fan, you knew this was bound to happen. So, I mean, a little shocker there. It's nice to see some life out of the Nats. And clearly, Josh Bell likes to hit in Florida. That's it. Just leave Josh Bell in Florida, and everything will be fine. But if I was the Marlins, I'd be on the phone right now to the Nats, say, hey, can we get Josh Bell down here? Because it seems like he loves the humidity. Eugenio Suarez goes 0 for 4. He's down to $1.25. Buy. Buy Eugenio Suarez. People want to give him away right now. Go get him. And Rafael Montero was brought into the game in the 7th, allowing 4 runs, 2 earned against the Stros. So, Dan, what's the trade chart say? Did you get an update there?
I got it. First of all, go look it up. Give us some views, okay? When people view the article, it makes me feel like somebody cares about me. So Buxton right now, he is in the range of like a George Springer at this point, which is, I mean, way higher than he used to be, of Nick Castellanos, stuff like that. He's around right there. I could easily push him way higher. If I knew he would be healthy for the rest of the season, he'd be way higher. But right now, he's basically one of these guys, and I've mentioned it before with the trade chart, I move at a glacial pace, okay? Because over the course of a long season, I like to take baby steps moving up. He moved up several spots in value right now, but that's basically where he is, like a very, very strong, high-end outfielder 2 right now for me. Again, all about the health, very little about the performance. So if you can package him with another guy around that range, you might be able to land yourself sort of somebody like a Trout or something like that. But the bottom line with Buxton is shoot for the moon, okay? Start out as high as you possibly can, because right now everything he's doing says that you should be able to get that.
I like that. See, and that's why you go there. Please give Dan a view.
Yeah, look it up. Look at the whole thing. It's 250 players ranked in value. Come on, do it.
Yeah, I just updated my rankings yesterday, but Dan needs...
I need the views.
I don't want to say want. I'm going to say need because of reaction there. And by the way, Tony also in the chat says his wife works at Trader Joe's and he'd love to send Dan a bottle of the instant cold brew. I'm going to keep pushing till we get the instant cold brew as a sponsor of the podcast. I think we should.
Do it.
Trader Joe right here. Jimmy, get on the horn with Jimmy. Jimmy knows how to make deals. Jimmy knows.
I want to reference. You mentioned a bunch of guys there in the thing. I'm pretty encouraged by Riley, who's a guy who you Mrs. Riley and only Mrs. Riley, of course.
You were it's nice to see him finally showing life.
All of a sudden, he's batting 286. He's got an 843 OPS. I don't know when that happened. I think Riley is a guy who, again, he's not striking out. He's doing kind of what he did last year. He's not striking out that much. He's going for I'm going to trade off a little power to sort of have more contact. And I think this is an approach that works for a guy like him who has power to spare. So Riley is a guy who should be rostered probably in every league, 12 teams or deeper. And I think you can just sort of, I'm riding him as a corner infielder right now. And I think you can do that rest of the season. So he's a guy who I particularly want to mention because it's great. And it's also a good lesson on how fast things can change, right? Because like a week ago, it was like, or 2 weeks ago, it was like Riley's done, but this is great. Good to see. I like what I'm seeing from him.
Well, you mentioned it before, Dan. It's also the hyper focus of being bad at the beginning of the year, which puts, being bad in June for 2 weeks, nobody notices. Being bad in April for 2 weeks, everybody notices and overreacts. Andrew Rogers, by the way, has a great question here. Drop Frankie Montas for Alex Wood or Domingo Germán. Oof. I gotta tell you, I gotta tell you, this one's giving me pause, and I'm a Montas guy. Alex Wood's been really good. I don't think you can ever get a full season out of Alex Wood. I just don't. As much as I love what San Fran's done with some of these reclamation projects, and we kind of touched on it briefly yesterday, Germán would be the guy. If you are in dire need right now, I think either move is okay just to kind of steady the storm. That's fair. Like, let's say you are a team that has Hendricks and Montas and, Luis Castillo, which is not an impossibility, right? That's a very reasonable thing that you might have come away in a draft like that. And Germán or Wood can help you kind of settle down in 5x5 season-long stuff. yeah, I think you make that move for either of them, but Herman would be my guy. How about you?
So what's interesting is I have Hendricks and Montas and Maeda, so not exactly the same thing, but close to it in a league. And look, for me, the guy I'm actually worried about the most, not that I still rank him the highest, but who I'm worried about the most is actually Maeda of those groups. I'm not really worried about Hendricks. We didn't talk about Montas. I think it was yesterday, Joe. He would have been for the show. He wound up giving up 3 runs over 6 innings against the Rays. And it was a pretty decent start.
He was fine.
He looked pretty good.
Right.
But also, I watched that start closely because I'm invested in Montas both as the analyst who has recommended Montas to everybody and also as somebody who has a lot of shares. He looked really good in that game. And look, he wound up giving up a 2-run homer at the end of to the last batter or whatever of the 6th inning. He struck that guy out twice, and the ump blew the call, like just completely blew it. He should have had a 6-inning, 1-run start in that game. I'm encouraged by Montas. I'm not dropping him at all. So I would hold him over those 2 guys. But I agree with you. Herman is a guy who I feel better about than Wood rest of the season. So I try to add Herman. I try to add Wood, but I'm not swapping Montas for that because I do have faith that Montas is going to be fine.
And if Montas, I mean, here's the other thing I struggle with too. I can't imagine like Montas is the lowest guy on your depth chart unless it's a really shallow league. So I would prefer not to drop Montas at all and just pick up one of these other 2 guys if you could do it. Mr. Rogers, by the way.
And not to turn this into a Montas podcast. He didn't even pitch yesterday, but
welcome
I do
to the Montas cast right here at FantasyPros.
But this again, it's a guy who, when we have gone out on a limb, Joe, and sort of been like this, like Victor Robles, I watch every time, be like, give me a sign, Victor Robles, and there are no signs. But regardless, with Montas, he threw his splitters the highest percentage in a single game that he had ever thrown it. And that's a pitch that if he relies on, if it's working, he's going to be successful. So the fact that he leaned into it so hard against the Rays, I'm not even that worried about the 6 innings, 3 runs, which was fine. Should have been better anyway. I'm more encouraged by Montas. So just if you roster Montas right now, do not drop him. I really do think that things are better.
Don't drop him. Like I said, it's a weird thing to even be saying drop him for those guys. Just bench him if you're still not happy. I get it, though. I get it. I get the frustration, but Wood is not long for, again, 30 starts. I mean, that's not going to happen. All right, let's get to some injury news and notes because there's a lot of them.
Yeah.
Cole Calhoun, Tyler Widener, both on the IL. Great. I got a ton of Taylor Widener all over the place. Dalton Varsho was recalled from our alternate site, though. So Dan and we packed up his stuff, cracked him up with a suitcase. We sent him off. Also with Calhoun out, Carson Kelly hitting leadoff. Little thing to notice there. Bryce Harper was hit in the face, we mentioned before, by Genesis Cabrera, which was kind of a mascot of our show last year that I did for DFS.
Yeah.
We used to make the jokes that Genesis Cabrera is the perfect name for, let's just say, a dancer that worked in a club by the airport. I mean, if there is ever a name that fits that, it's Genesis Cabrera. And now you can't unhear it. Now that I've said it here, every time you hear it, you're going to think about,
this has ruined it for me.
I've just ruined it. George Springer returned to the lineup, went in an offer, which is, I mean, not surprising there. There's that temptation, too, because, sometimes you get those moments where a guy comes off the IL and you're like, oh, look at his first game back out, and he goes home run his first at bat, and I just I'm going to stay away from Springer tonight. But it's nice to see him finally back on the field in the month of April before May. Just made it, by the way. Yeah. Luis Robert looks likely to return tonight after COVID protocols. Yordan Alvarez went on the IL because of COVID stuff, which there's a lot of mystery and fog around this, like because he had COVID already. So is this
a shot, right? I mean,
is it the shot or is he getting some sort of other, like Eduardo Rodriguez was having repercussions last year from getting COVID. True. And I hope it's not that. That's all I hope. I hope it was very mysterious, which I hate. The only thing more mysterious than that was Ryan Weathers leaving his start with left forearm soreness.
No, left arm soreness. Arm. Did they say forearm even? Because
no, I'm not forearm. Excuse me. No, arm. That is my bad. I'm so used to saying forearm, but
I was watching it. He threw a pitch. It was like 88 or something, and the manager, Tingler, came running out and checked. I was like, I don't know what's the problem. And then he got through the first, and then they were like, you're done, and you have left arm soreness. I don't know what that means, but probably not good. So maybe Mackenzie Gore.
Is it a dead arm period? I mean,
what dead arm? Barely. I don't know. But Dinelson Lamet, is apparently going to start this weekend. So, who knows? If not, I guess Mackenzie Gore finally season. I don't know. Who knows what they're going to be doing over here?
Hey, it's the Padres. Yeah, is Tyler Boyd or John Means available? Somebody available? Maybe we could get him over here. Because
you say Tyler Boyd, are we going to? Football?
I don't like guys. I'm a guy. Oh my God, wrong Boyd. Matthew Boyd.
Get it together.
It's draft day.
Together.
It's draft day.
It's draft day.
You know what?
Joe's got his head in football.
You know what?
It's fine.
You know what? Tyler Boyd also could be a good fifth starter.
You never know.
You never know.
Great wide
I did say
receiver.
Tyler Boyd. I didn't say Matthew Boyd. Clearly, I named my second cup of coffee today.
All right.
That's what happens. I'm in football mode in my brain, but that's okay. We'll get through it all. Hyunjin Ryu goes on the IL. Ugh, frustrating. His butt. He's got a butt issue.
His butt hurts, man. It's got a glute strain. I mean, what do you want? He'll be all right. Apparently, by the way, just going to miss the one start. But that was something where I opted to bench him in the league because they were like, I think he'll make a start. And I was like, I don't know, man. Like, this just strikes me as with the 10-day IL, they'll be careful with him.
I think we deserve reasons. We deserve reasons for injuries like that. Like, what's the glute? Where did the glute? How did it happen? Yeah, he strained the glute. Like, Ryu doesn't look like he's doing a ton of squats.
That's true. As somebody who does not exercise whatsoever, I never strain anything, so I'm fine. So I don't know about that.
Mike Yastrzemski did tweak his oblique, so
he's on the IL now.
Good knowing you. Mitch Haniger scratched for general fatigue. I mean, it's like, is that called life? Could you imagine going to, like, I don't know, like, I'm trying to think of, like, the tough guys, like, when we were young and watching ball games and stuff like that. Like, could you imagine going to, like, Pete Rose or somebody with, like, Pete Rose going, oh, you know what? I'm just tired today. Can I have a day off? Like, what?
Yeah. Ty Cobb certainly would never do it. Although that is not to say anything about Mitch Haniger. Stay healthy. Do whatever you need to do because you're having a great season.
You're having a great season. But it's a general fatigue. I mean, come on.
You know what, Joe? When you were a professional baseball player, then you can criticize these guys for that sort of stuff. All right? Take Mitch Haniger. You relax. You take your time.
I got my COVID shot. I had general fatigue, and I still did a podcast right after. Did I not this week?
I guess.
I don't general fatigue. Anyway, Dinelson Lamet going to start this weekend. Over under 1.5 innings for that start.
I'll go over, but I'll go under 4.5 innings for the rest of the season. How about that? He'll go 3 innings in his first start. That'll be it. That's it.
You're a cold-hearted man.
I am. That's what I think. I don't know. That's what I think.
Oh, the only thing colder than the brew is the heart of Singer Harris. And I don't know if it's going to be Mackenzie Gore time. I see Fernando pushing the narrative here in the Crackers and Cracker Jack.
He's not pitching that well right now, by the way. Like, reports are not great about him, so we'll see. But at some point, they're going to need arms if Weathers is out and Lamet is not able to recover. So we'll see.
Speaking of minor leaguers, it looks like Bobby Witt's going to start Double-A this week. Is that surprising to you? Did you think that that's where he would begin this year?
I think that's fair, really. I think all the talk about him starting in the majors and was just overblown. That was just minor league talk, whatever. I think Double-A is appropriate, but I think that's actually probably a good thing. Like, I think you can make the jump from Double-A and find your way into the majors in like a matter of a month if you absolutely need to. So I wasn't really surprised by it. It's kind of what I would have pinned if I had a prediction for it.
Yeah, it's happened before. I mean, Evan Longoria, I remember back in the day, did that. There's a couple guys who made that jump. Brian wants to know in the chat, what should he do with Gleyber Torres? Well, sit on him because he's starting to hit finally. I mean, now's not the time to get rid of him. Like, you know, this is it. No, and you don't sell high off of this either. You just finally embrace the fact that Gleyber Torres looks better. Cal Ripken was scratched for tonight's game with general fatigue too. He just was tired. He just couldn't get there. So what are you gonna do? Let's talk a little DFS tonight. Strange slate. Okay, I'm just gonna put it out there right now.
Very weird.
Keep it simple, boys and girls. It's 5 games out there. The Dodgers are the good chalk, and I can't really make a case for much else except the Dodgers today in terms of investing. Right? I mean, because daily fantasy is something you're making an investment on a night in players, right? Or in a team or in a matchup. So cash arm is Trevor Bauer at 11K and 11.3 on DK. As far as I'm concerned, he's the GPP arm. I can't get away from him, especially against that Brewers lineup, which I keep telling everybody, look, without Yelich, this lineup is really not good. The middle of this order is dreadful. You got to go and attack it. Trevor Bauer's in a good spot there. And the only other guy I can make a case for is Kyle Gibson, who's pitched better than see that face you made. That's exactly why Kyle Gibson, because if you look at the stats, the stats are way better, but he has earned that face. He has earned that face from you, Dan Harris, over the last 5 years of pitching, because he's been basically a punch and Judy kind of guy who gets punched all over the ballpark. But he's been better this year. As a secondary arm on DK, I like it way more. He's only 7K there on DraftKings, but he's like 9K over on FanDuel, so I don't know what's going on there. It's not enough to tempt me to go any other way but Bauer. So is it any other way but Bauer for you tonight? Because it's bad out. It's ugly.
This is a really, really bad. I mean, you've got 5 games and like pitchers are just gross. It has to be Bauer, and with very little hesitation, because you did mention it right now. The Brewers are just, again, it's just not a lineup. I mean, the 3, 4, 5 hitters are Avisel Garcia, who can't buy a hit at the moment. Travis Shaw, who is never going to really scare you, and Keston Hiura, who we've basically been talking about as unfortunately one of the biggest strikeout risks and the biggest bust so far of the season. So yeah, that's where you've got to go. I don't really mind Gibson, especially in the season-long league. I always get a little nervous going against the Red Sox. I know they didn't hit much against the Mets, but now back in the American League with their full lineup, I'd scared. But as a secondary armor in DK, I'm fine with it.
Yeah, just keep it with the Dodgers tonight. Keep it simple.
Yep.
In terms of lineup builders, Nick Solak's been swinging pretty good. He's 2.9. Yep. Austin Riley, go right back to that well. He's just 2.4 on FanDuel. How is Austin Riley just 2.4? The algorithm hasn't caught up. Nope. I didn't even realize he was hitting 286. Dan pointed that out. There's a great job by Dan there. Nico Horner's cheap on both sides, 2.5 on FanDuel, 3K over on DK. And Riley's cheap on DK at 3.2. So, the bottom of that Braves order. And look, I know it's baseball, so tonight something could go completely haywire and something, Gibson goes out there and throws a complete game shutout, or some other jabroni pitcher comes out of nowhere and pitches really well.
Yeah.
I still don't care. It's not a good investment. So you're basically, if you want to light your money on fire, okay. And it's okay to stay away from a slate too if you don't like the way the slate is. But honestly, I feel good about Trevor Bauer. He's been excellent this year. You go with Trevor Bauer, you play cash, and best Trevor Bauer lineup wins tonight. There's nothing wrong with that. And this is not indicative of all the short slates. This is a weird 5-6 games, because we've had 5-6 games before here many times in April, and there's been lots of little moving pieces and stuff like that. Tonight, the pieces just fell in a weird way. I just don't want to overthink it, because I feel like this is the kind of thing. I got up this morning at 6 a.m. to kind of try to dissect it and find an excuse for somebody else or something else, and nothing I could dig up stat-wise, nothing I could dig up matchup-wise made any sense, except the Kyle Gibson thing, because generally people look at Kyle Gibson and go, that guy, I remember when he sucked for all these years. And you know what? That's fair. But you know what? He's the only other direction you could go just to be weird, because he's pitched pretty well this year.
Yeah, I mean, look, Gibson has like 6 pitches now that he can rely on, and I bought into it a little bit in the spring, and by bought into it a little bit in the spring, I mean drafted him in a 50-round draft and whole draft Champions League, but he's been kind of a savior there because he does get the job done. So I do feel okay about him. On FanDuel, the fact that he's 9.5K is ridiculous. Like, just there's no possible way. No. But I don't mind it. But yeah, I agree. It's basically start with Bauer, and then you've got to go a lot of cheap bats. Like, I'd love to get the Dodgers, bats in there, but there's almost nobody who you're going to be able to fit in there because they're all high price. So I'm probably going to start Bauer, and then I'm going to attack the cheap bats probably on the Braves and the Cubs if I can do it, with the Bryce Wilson and Adbert Alzolay, who, again, always has the potential to be dominant, but he's probably not going to be that long for the game. The wind is supposedly blowing out. So that's probably what my plan of attack is going to be tonight.
Yeah, I think you stick with Atlanta, who's been very hot. You stick with, you can go on the other side with the Cubs too. I mean, they're very up and down, but there's no reason to not make an investment there. So that kind of, just once again, just don't overthink it. Sometimes it's just going to look like this. So last night, as we mentioned at the top of the show, not a good night for hard run calls. Nobody played. One got postponed. One got in a bad spot there with some mysterious COVID-related thing for the second time here in a month. So I don't know what's going on there. Keep an eye on that. So I'm going to go with Freddie Freeman because he's red hot, and why not? There's just not a lot of options tonight. So, and I can kick myself because yesterday my secondary choice was Freddie Freeman, and I took it out of the sheet. So this is 2 times now in a month where I had a guy, took him out, replaced him with another guy. When am I going to learn? When am I going to learn? I'm still looking up in the standings. Hopefully today. Now he'll go 0 for 5. So who are you going with for your home run call tonight?
I'm probably not going to be able to fit him into my lineup because I'll be going with Bauer, but I am going to go with Justin Turner against the lefty Eric Lauer. I do think, they're in Milwaukee, so that they're going to be, for the Dodgers, probably a few home runs hit. I'm going to go with Turner, who I just like watching Turner's at bats anyway, so he's my guy who I think is going yard tonight.
I would say this. I think, look, I've played around with it already this morning on FanDuel and on DK. With the savings you're getting on Gibson as a secondary arm, you can get Dodgers in there. You can make it work. You just got to find 2 or 3 guys, and we gave you Riley and Horner and a couple other guys out there in that 2 range. Solak is cheap. You find 2 or 3 saving spots, and then you load up in the rest. And you know what? If Bauer is 80% roster today, I don't care. I just don't
Yeah.
care. We had this, I think the first week of the season, right? Where it was like best Shane Bieber lineup wins.
Right.
And you had right? And it worked. And
Yeah.
we're like, well, just create a good lineup around Shane Bieber. Don't get fancy. Don't try to be too different. Just be good. And if you had it, you cashed everywhere. It all worked out. So that'll do it for us today. But I want to remind everybody to the manscaped.com lawnmower 4.0 is available. And I just want everybody to know, then go out there and get that 4.0. I don't know if it's available on stores or only on the black market to folks like me. But right now, you want to go out there. It's 7,000 glorious RPMs of advanced skin-safe technology. It's got the LED light. It's got the most amazing advanced skin-safe technology, the quiet stroke technology, all the technology into the little tiny trimmer. It's unbelievable. It looks cool, too. It gets on that little charging station there for you. It's very portable. They've also got the nose hair trimmer too, which I got a whole read tonight. If you want to watch something amazing tonight, watch me do Manscaped reads tonight on our live stream of the NFL draft on Fantasy Pros, because some of this copy that I'm going to get to read is the most amazing thing in the world. Come for the football, stay for the Manscaped reads. But I'm telling you right now, it's a great trimmer. Go get it. Father's Day's around the corner. Go get your lawnmower 3.0, 4.0, whatever .0 you're comfortable with. I don't want to, get you too big of a lawnmower if you're not ready to push it. You also get 20% off and free shipping with the code LEADINGOFF right here, thanks to us. So go to manscaped.com, use that code LEADINGOFF, and get 20% off and free shipping. And is this it, right? One more day for the Ronald Acuna jersey giveaway? That's it, right?
30 days has September, April. Yes, that's it. One more day.
One more day.
Guys, it's a free signed Ronald Acuna jersey.
It's free. What are you doing? Get the jersey.
FantasyPros.com/MLB contest. Do it.
Do it. I mean, again, you take a screenshot on Apple Podcasts or Castbox. You go over to MLB, our little FantasyPros.com/MLB contest. You upload it, you fill out the form, and you're entered. And like Dan said yesterday, you're entered to win every month after that, whatever the contest. So you only have to do it one time. You don't have to write a review every single month. But if you want to, we'll take it. But anyway, go write that review right now. Do it for us. Do it for the team. Because we're here for you. We're a team in this all together. So again, thanks to our friends at pristineauction.com. Go. Get involved with all of that going on. So that'll do it for us today. Dan Harris and I are going to go back to the alternate site. In the meantime, the story of the game goes on. For Dan, I'm Joey P. We'll see you next time, kids.